How's it going, hey Kevin? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. How you doing, Garrett?
Not too bad. Hard to believe September's around the corner here.
I know it's years flying by,
Being Q4 before you know it.
right?
Um, well, cool. So we got an interesting power session today, and we haven't really done much with Ops Manager lately. So let's dive in on how we can get maybe some critical job site info quickly and consistently, and giving the team real time data to make better decisions on the go.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of what we focus here at Pronovos and through the new Nova platform is more of the financial tools. But what you want to consider kind of alongside those financial is kind of all the data that's coming in from the field, right? And that's kind of what we see in construction is like, yes, you have these kind of like two silos of data. You've got kind of the actual numbers that exist in the tables and the columns from your accounting system and in Excel sheets. But then you also have kind of more of the unstructured data that is just as important, but it's harder to capture. So everything that's coming from your field, whether it's photos, reports, whatever it might be. So what we're going to be focusing on today is kind of some of the tools that help you kind of navigate and capture the information that comes from the field.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know daily reports are pretty common, crew size, reporting delays, weather, things of that nature. So how do we kind of start creating one of those?
Yeah, so if you go to the daily report module, what you'll get is this landing page. First thing is it gives you some clarity in terms of what's been reported on in a given week. So you can see kind of what's not been started, if there's report missing. You can also get some numbers overall in the project. So how many of the reports are actually being completed on time, who's completing those reports, how many days are missing reports on the project. So obviously, this is just a sample project. Hopefully, you don't have 93 missing reports on your project, and then any incidents that have been opened on the report. So it's really good just to kind of see some of this information. The other thing that you can do here is you can go in and toggle on off which sections you want in your daily report. So I've seen some contractors do this both ways. One is like, hey, they want to be super granular, get all the different categories of information. Others are just kind of like, hey, the way we get them or the best daily report is to complete a daily report, and the best way you're going to complete a daily report is if it's simple. So it's like they keep it very simple. So kind of up to you, but kind of once you have it set up, you can go in, start today's daily report, and what you're going to see is kind of all of those sections that you have set up. So you've got the summary for today, ability to upload photos, what's the crew on site, subcontractors, visitors, keep going all the way down. You can kind of see all the different sections. The other thing you'll see
Sure.
here is it auto captures the weather based on the site address. So you're not having to go in and type this in. It's basically saying, okay, on this day, based on the weather forecast, it was 73 degrees and it was raining with wind of 11 miles per hour. You can also kind of mark whether there was an impact, and then you can add it based on that as well.
Absolutely. I see we have kind of a lot of fields below and some things up top to track. Is there anything that maybe you see in the day-to-day that is missing you could, talk to Nova and add?
Yeah, so I would say that's kind of the biggest benefit of using AI for daily reports is if you think of most people that work in the field, they have been on site all day, they've been busy, kind of, the last thing they want to do is go sit in their truck at the end of the day and type in a form for 15 minutes. So what you can actually do is dictate to Nova and it will fill out the daily report for you. So I can come in here and I can say, busy day on site today. We had a three-man crew on site. The electrical subcontractor was also on site, working in the equipment room, putting in the disconnect switches. Our crew was working on installing the rough plumbing lines going out from the equipment room to the courtyard. We put about 100 feet of the 6-inch line in. We also had an inspector on site today that signed off on the pressure test. No safety concerns today. We did do a toolbox talk on heat exposure, and then it was a little muddy on site today, so we lost an hour to get started. And then we also got a delivery of all of our 12-inch pipe for next week. So as you saw that there, not only was it dictating, but you could see those little green bubbles that was basically telling me as I kind of filled out each section. And now what it's basically going to do is it's going to analyze that dictation and populate everything that needs to be in or populated in that daily report. So you can kind of see it's basically filled out everything on site or on site here. It's got my electrical subcontractor, it's got my inspector, it picked up my delivery here, picked up my toolbox talk on heat exposure. So basically it's making that kind of filling out the daily report a much more easier process for the foreman or superintendent where they're not actually having to sit down and type. They can just kind of stream of conscious talk and fill it out. And then when you're done with that daily report, you can come up here and click submit. And then what you'll also see is it's going to analyze what it's been filled out to see if there's anything that should be flagged from that daily report. So was there anything that was done on the day that was out of scope? Was there anything that an RFI should be created for? So basically, it's using AI not only to dictate that daily report, but then also to analyze that daily report to see if there's anything of note based on what the foreman or superintendent documented on that given day. So you can see here we've got lots of concerns here. So then you can kind of go in here and kind of work through those concerns in Nova based on what's been analyzed here.
Sure. I love it. That's fantastic. Cuts down the work after a long day in the field and you're all off on the go after a couple minutes.
Exactly. Yep.
So, why don't we touch on project schedules and, kind of keeping those current, visible, where do we have people throughout the field, things of that nature.
Yeah, so what we try and focus on is on most construction site types, we're going to have kind of the full like project schedule. What we're going to focus more on is kind of what the field actually works from, which is typically that 3 week look ahead. So what you have here is kind of a tool where you can go in and create that 3 week look ahead. And basically what it will allow you to do is it will pre-populate that daily report to basically say, hey, here's what we had scheduled for the day. Did we actually complete it? If we didn't complete it, then it's going to kind of note the 3 week look ahead report and update it accordingly. So you can come in here and add an activity, or you can do it just like the daily report and kind of dictate it to it and have it populate based on that. So if I click on this here, I can say, okay, for the next 3 days, we're going to be installing the 6 inch line. There's about 500 linear feet of that. After that, we are going to move to the 12-inch line. We'll probably be working on that for 4 days. There's a 1,200 linear feet for that. And then once all that's done, we're going to backfill the trench and compact it. That will take about 2 days. And then we will pressure test those lines for the last day. So same deal here. I can finish my dictation. It's going to basically analyze that transcript, and then it's going to populate that 3 week look ahead for me. So you can see right now it's reading the plan. And I can now see that it is populated here. And what you can see here is based on how I've described the activity, is it's actually going to assign a cost code to each of those line items. And the reason this is flagging red here is if I'm already over budget or based on kind of what I'm scheduling, if it's going to put my labor budget over. So on this one, this is again a sample project. I kind of picked some line items that were already over budget here. So you can kind of see it's dictated here that it's over budget, but I can kind of go in here and kind of see the actual financials. And if I actually assign a crew to it and say, hey, this is going to be a 3-man crew, or here, let me go and put in Mike's crew here. What you'll see is it will actually tell me how each of these line items is actually going to contribute to the budget. So if I say, all right, that was Mike's crew there, let's put Mike on all these crews here. So now if I go in here and click on it, I can kind of see total on what I've got budgeted across my 3 weeks that will actually hit this line item. So on 1002, I'm going to have $9,480 in cost just based on the different activities. And based on the length, I can kind of see how much of those activities are contributing to each of the overall budget. Um, so um, what I can then do is as I'm actually filling out my daily report, you'll see it's actually getting kind of dictated here based on what actually happened. So as I submit my daily reports here, you can see the days that I had no report. If I filled it out, it will tell me if I'm on target or it will give me a summary of what's actually happened on it. So it's a really good way to kind of tie those two things together that most contractors do, that 3 week look ahead and the daily report, and kind of build a bit of a symbiotic relationship between the two, where the daily report is kind of feeding the 3 week look ahead, and then the 3 week look ahead is telling you what you should be doing on your daily report.
I love it. Nice and easy.
Yeah.
So how about maybe capturing and organizing job site photos? I know I have a decent amount of clients utilizing photos in the old ops manager and creating their folders and things of that nature. So how's it look now in Nova?
Yeah, so photos is obviously probably one of the most important things you're going to get from the field. And it's probably one of the most useful things in terms of actually understanding what's happening on the job site. It's easy to kind of read the reports, talk to the superintendent or the foreman, but looking at photos, it always kind of conveys a lot quicker of what's actually happening. So systems that track photos, obviously, that's really nothing new in construction. That's been around for years. What you can do with Nova, though, is when you actually upload a photo, what it will do is it's going to basically tag that photo with a suggested cost code. So I can see I've got my plumbing cost code here. And then it's also going to give a brief description of what that is in that photo. Now, this doesn't actually mean that much when you actually come in and look at the photos, right? If I'm looking at my photos here, I don't need a description telling me what's in the photo. The
Yeah.
reason this is valuable is what you can do is when you're chatting with Nova, you can then ask it to pull certain photos and it will basically pull the photos based on those descriptions. So if I come in here and let's start a new chat and say, um, pull recent photos on this project about plumbing. It's actually going to go through, read those descriptions, read those cost codes, and it can then say, okay, what are some of those photos you might be looking for? And this is, I think, something we can see. Let's do a lot of contractors struggle with is they do a really good job of taking the photos, but there might be literally hundreds of photos, if not thousands of photos over the course of a project. And basically trying to
Sure.
find those photos at the end, being able to search based on the date range, being able to search based on the cost code, that's not always something that's easy to do. So basically you can use Nova here to kind of quickly search for the photos that you need. You can add different filters here, different date ranges, so we're trying to make it as quick as possible, not just to capture the photos. That's really the easy part of it. It's how do you leverage those photos as part of your analysis? And this can fold into tools when you are updating your financial cost forecast on the project. You can ask to see the photos related to a certain cost code. So when you're saying, hey, what is my cost complete or percent complete? You can kind of see those photos in real time very quickly and let that inform your forecast for that specific line item.
It's fantastic to see a ton of value just pulling those quickly instead of, going through folders with thousands of photos in them.
Yeah, definitely.
So, um, so why don't we talk about improving the communication between the field and the office? What are some features we can do to make their lives easier and, go back and forth in the field?
Yeah, and we've really touched on them here, and I would say there's two main things that you should be looking to are really leveraging AI to kind of help with that communication. The first is dictation, right? We showed it with the daily report, we showed it with the 3 week look ahead. In my experience, and I think in a lot of people's experience, is kind of the modality that most people working in the field are comfortable communicating in. It is just kind of stream of conscious talking. And if you allow your foreman and superintendents to use dictation tools, you're going to find you're going to get a lot more useful information than if they actually have to sit down and fill something out because it's going to be way quicker. They're going to be able to kind of get more kind of context and detail into those descriptions. So that's the first one is really using that dictation. The second one is just kind of using Nova, like I just showed with the photos, of being able to pull quickly access that information that's coming back from the field. So if you have a lot of good information in your daily reports, in your photos, that might be great. But everyone knows over the course of the full life cycle of a project that spans months, if not years, and there's days and days and days of reports and dozens and dozens and dozens of photos, it's really hard to kind of comb through all that data. So using AI as a tool to kind of basically kind of suss through that information to find what's relevant. So those are kind of the two big ones. It's one, allowing yourself to get more information by giving your field easier tools to actually dictate what's happening on the job site. And then two, using AI to basically work through that data faster so you can kind of find the relevant points and things aren't going missed.
Yeah, I love it. I can absolutely see how this would, encourage more usage, cut down on time. People not sitting in a truck at the end of the day, just trying to scribble quick and fill out a daily report. And so a lot of good stuff here. I love it.
Nice.
Um, I think we're kind of up on time here. We can open the floor up for 30 seconds to a minute and see if there's any questions. And if not, we'll give you the rest of your day back. Well, you want to call
Let's call it.
it? Thanks for your time, Dave, and thanks everyone for joining. We'll have the recording up on YouTube soon as well.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep. Bye bye.